Okay, Roquan Smith said something yesterday that I have to admit I read the text of
course,
before I saw the soundbite.
Right.
And this is a classic example of when you read that text, the tops of my ears were getting hot.
Yeah.
And then I watched it and I'm like, wow, the delivery was friendly.
Yeah, right.
And, you know,
he was actually very complimentary of the Browns.
Yeah, and so we can play it, right, Mike?
Yeah.
We can play it. We had to do a little loophole to get it on screen, but yeah, we can play it.
Okay,
so
let's play
hear
it so
the
our
sound
audience
from
can hear if they haven't. What
Roquan Smith. We have 3 sound bites. This is the first one. This is the one that had the quote get taken out of and went viral yesterday on Twitter. So this is the full sound bite from Roquan Smith.
You're considered the bad guy because you're going into essentially another man's house and you're trying to take over, like his wife, kids, everyone there to watch them. So we going over to beat their tails in front of their wife and kids. So when you think about it from that perspective, like any man's gonna, fight to the death in that point. I know if that's me in that case, I know I would.
So
I saw wife and kids and beat their tails, and I'm like, whoa.
I thought home invasion. I said, this dude done tied my wife and my kids up. I got an apple in little Susie's mouth, and she's over there with her arms. Any person be like, oh, listen, you done went too far. Yeah, that went too far. And then you heard that.
Then you hear it.
And it was like, that was so hard.
And he was, when you see the video, too, he's like smiling. He's like, hey, listen, they're a physical team.
I don't know that I'd ever seen him speak before.
Ever.
I didn't recognize him.
I didn't either.
I mean,
we know him by name and we know his prowess on the football field. But when I saw him, I'm like, not sure I could have picked him out, number one. Number two, pleasant demeanor. None of it was ill-intended at all.
And he had number 18 on. I didn't know quite who that was.
I know. I was
like,
well, when we first saw it, I saw Earl's tweet. Like, I don't remember exactly what Earl said, but he was basically like, won't these guys learn about talking trash? And then I watched the whole thing, and I was like, I don't see how this is talking trash.
It's not even approaching the trash talk scale.
Yeah.
Right.
Because to me, trash talk is saying something derogatory about your opponent.
That's right.
And what he said was, hey, we're going into their house trying to beat them in front of their wife and kids. They're going to fight to the death.
That's
I
right.
know I would.
And
so it's actually a compliment.
And he said, every teams want to do it to us when they come to us.
Yeah.
And he also said they're a really physical football team. We love that.
Yes.
So like
I thought it was complimentary.
There was no insult there.
No. So on the trash talk scale, 1 to 10, I think it's a 0. I don't even think it qualifies.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree. Do you
but I gotta
disagree,
say,
G?
when I read the text,
I
was
like,
pretty hot. And then I watched it, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of friendly. Like there's nothing to that at all.
Earl, you put the tweet out originally. Do you still think it's trash talk?
No, I think my tweet said that he lost his damn mind, LOL, and I was laughing. It ain't like high level trash talk, man, but I don't know. I'm a father. Like anybody tell me they gonna beat me in front of my wife and my kids, like I'm gonna make sure you don't. So he put it out there for bulletin board material.
Hey, listen,
I think that's the proper term. I wouldn't consider it necessary trash talk.
Whatever you need, right? If the Browns want to take it and run with it
Sure.
as bulletin board material, so be it.
Yeah, if they need that to get them excited, but they don't. It's their arch rival in the division. One of their arch rivals. It's a division game. It's for first place.
Yeah.
So they want to go win.
So that wasn't no good one, man. If they, all you need to do is if you want to find a little, you want to get you a little, I guess, bulletin board material. That wasn't it. That what you were looking for. But I can sure find you some, because this is what
Well, Jamar Chase was.
Jamar Chase, John Harbaugh, just a little bit of time ago was being spicy. He said, I respect what Steve Bisciotti and former team president Dick Cash created here almost 10 years ago, Harbaugh said. Basically, we have kind of a zero tolerance policy. You have to know the truth, and you have to try to understand the circumstances, but we've stayed away from that particular situation.
This was a while ago.
Yeah.
That's a year and a half ago.
That's when they went to get Deshaun Watson.
What's the length of trash talk counting?
The statute of limitation is only enough if you can pull it up still, if you can print it out.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Of the 6 games that Deshaun played last year, were one of them against the Ravens?
Yep.
Yes.
One of them,
okay, then I think the statute of limitations has expired.
Well, but now let me ask you this. When the Browns, after Jamar Chase talked trash, Browns kicked their ass.
Yeah.
And then the Browns talked trash after the game about Jamar Chase talking.
That's applicable for their next meeting.
Do the Bengals,
if they want to,
do they get to use that as bulletin board material?
I don't know that there are any international laws for length of bulletin board quotes, But I would say yes. Even though they were responding to trash talk.
Right.
If they don't clip what the Browns said about them and plaster it all over their bulletin board, they're silly. They should.
Well, to me, there's no statute of limitations for the Browns or the Ravens because the Ravens used to be the Browns. So first of all, they took your name and your colors.
Yep.
Second of all,
We didn't take our colors
our
names.
Well, they stripped you of it, and they left those here.
They took our team.
They took
the
your
team, the
squad,
players.
And they left the stuff behind that they didn't want.
and then had the nerve to win a Super Bowl 4 years later.
And 2 in total, right?
In 2 total. Now that's already fighting words right there.
Yes.
Then on top of that, they took your guy, Ozzie Newsome, who was one of your Hall of Famers, the only one we had. And then they turned him into the GM of the year, of the century. Yeah. And all he did is draft player after player after Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer. And then he retires as a Raven, and then we sitting here, we can't even find a quarterback. We whiffed on all them picks. And then finally.
So that's not trash talk. That's just rivalry stuff.
And then finally you get to a point where now you feel you have a quarterback. We watched Joe Flacco beat the brakes off of us, right? Because Flacco had just as much of a winning record against the Browns as Ben Roethlisberger. Then we're like, okay, we finally here. Maybe we can draft somebody. We go to the draft, we get Baker, they get Lamar Jackson, and they win that little dance. So they've got the one up on everything we got today. No, it's different. We're going to use everything they say. We're going to take...
That's fair.
We're going to act like it's 1995.
I think especially for Deshaun Watson, because that comment was thrown directly at his character.
100%.
They were saying, you want to go down in the mud and sign a player like that?
Yeah.
That's you. We don't do that. And the other thing, you have to remember, they were probably one of the most furious teams in the National Football League at the numbers of Deshaun Watson's contract, because they knew that their guy was coming up, and they knew that if Deshaun Watson got those kind of digits, they were going to have to pay far more than they ever expected to keep their franchise quarterback. So they're bitter.
They're a little bitter about that.
In the end, they would have had to pay that much anyway, whether Deshaun Watson, all the other quarterbacks were going in that
all
direction
of them
anyway.
that signed after Deshaun were in that neighborhood. None of them eclipsed his guaranteed dollar.
I think Mahomes finally did with his new deal, didn't he?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Mahomes signed an extension last
let me
week.
look.
I missed it. If he did.
And you guys know what's so crazy about this? There's a lot of storylines. Like, you got Jadeveon Clowney coming back.
Yeah.
You got Odell Beckham Jr. coming back.
We do.
If he's going to play.
And I thought those 2 storylines will be bigger than what they are.
And we're going to talk about that later in the show. Like, are they looking for revenge games again? We don't know if OBJ is going to play. But Jadeveon Clowney certainly left here on bad terms.
Yeah, both of them did.
No doubt.
You know, one of the things that you have to think is going through his mind is how many times can I get to number 4?
Yeah.
So, you know, and we're going to talk about, does that worry
Even though they're
you?
buddies.
They are. They're friends.
Yeah.
But you know what happens Sunday at 1 o'clock.
Sure, that
Your
all
friends
goes out the
become
window.
enemies.
And in terms of the history, I think that's big for the fans. I don't think the players care about it.
No, they was born in the 90s.
They don't,
I think for us, if the Browns come out and they win this football game and they win it like the way that they've been playing, especially defensively, it's going to have people on steroids. You know how cocky people going to be going into a bye week? Yeah. So all you're going to hear for a whole week is people praising you about how good you are and the Browns are actually here. And then you going into a game against the 49ers, which is, if you set that game up, you get the 49ers and you get the Browns, and it's like, wow, that's actually a good game now.
That's actually a great game.
That's actually
and if the Browns do win, like yesterday has, and I'm sure a lot of other fans were like, well, the Browns are getting no national recognition.
Oh, they will.
Well, they're still
you beat the Ravens and the Niners.
You beat the Ravens, that changes.
Yeah, and I have seen headlines, national headlines. Are the Browns a top 5 team?
Yeah,
so they're creeping.
People are talking about the defense, especially. But if you beat the Ravens, you know, once you lose to the Steelers, and when you're always losing to the Steelers and Ravens, it doesn't feel like you're different yet. If you beat the Ravens, and now you're 3-1, and now you got a bye leading up to a huge game with a 49er team that I'm guessing will be 4-0.
I'm not sure who they have.
Can't remember who they're playing this week offhand.
I mean, I don't know that I would underdog them against anybody. Maybe Philly. Maybe it'd be a pick'em.
Kansas City.
Pick'em.
Yeah, well, it depends where the game is.
Yeah, we just don't know. We don't know what they are yet. But
by the way, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Bears and the Broncos, who were the 2 worst, like put together 2 of the worst performances we've ever seen in football last week, are playing each other this week.
Wow. The toilet bowl.
On TV?
That's the top. Well, yeah, it'll be
the bowl
televised
for
in
Caleb
Denver and
Williams.
Chicago, but nowhere else. So we've established what trash talk isn't, not this. I wanted you guys to dig through your memory banks and see if you could come up with the most egregious, jaw-dropping trash talk you have ever seen in any sport.
I mean,
does anything come to mind?
Well, the
for
first
you
thing
guys?
that comes to mind is, even though they're my team, the Bengals have done some of the all-time stupid trash talk.
Say it.
I don't like trash talking before games.
I know.
In the game,
Sam.
when you're battling,
Right.
that's when you trash talk.
Sam Weiss is
I
all
don't
time.
like
Sam Weiss, you
I
know,
don't like
Cleveland.
but you got A. Jamar Chase,
Yep.
B. Sam Weiss, but the worst of all was what some of the Bengals players said last year about the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Remember
Burrowhead.
they said Burrowhead and then the dopey mayor of
Oh
Cincinnati?
my God, that's right.
I mean, I'm like, what
forgot
are
about that.
you doing that's so stupid?
Yeah.
I don't like
do
it.
remember
I
that.
don't like pre-game trash talk. I think it's dumb.
The reason
There's
I-
no benefit to it. None. There's
Yeah.
nothing good that could come out of Jamar Chase talking trash about the Browns. Nothing. He's got to shut the hell up.
The reason I think Sam Weiss was so big is because, first of all, I didn't even know they had the ability to have PA out announcements on the side in game.
That was just so bizarre.
I didn't know they handed him a mic like karaoke. And I'm like,
true.
what is
I've never seen that before.
I haven't
crazy.
seen it.
I mean, I've seen coaches gesture to the fans,
Right.
but nothing like
They
that.
hand him a mic, they plug it in. He got this old amp.
Mr. Microphone.
Yeah, and he was hot. He was like, listen, you don't do that. We don't live in
Cleveland, we live in Cincinnati.
And then they cheered. It was like it was Gladiator or something. This is crazy. And he did that in front of everybody. And it was like, it wasn't just a shot to your squad. It was shot to the whole city.
Yeah, that
like
was
you
bizarre.
hoodlums. like he said that like it was Cincinnati. There was a whole gated community.
But it worked because the one thing Cincinnati fans didn't want to be compared to
was Cleveland.
was us.
That was hard.
And the last snowball had flown that day.
That was hard.
But you're right. I mean, that was unprecedented stuff.
That was crazy. It's
Get
crazy.
Sam
thinking
the
about it.
microphone.
It's
like, where did that thing come from?
How was that plugged in?
It would have been one thing if, like, the referee, who was always mic'd for the stadium, would have come over and said, "Here you go, Sam, take my little mic here."
Right. No.
And he would have done it that way. That thing dropped out of the sky like it was the middle of a fight.
Michael Butler.
Hey, let's get running on. I mean, where does it come from?
That is so crazy thinking about it now.
It is nuts.
Yeah, that was the
For
coldest.
me, most of our audience probably doesn't remember this because they're too young. Ray Buchanan, who was a defensive back for the Falcons.
I remember him.
And Shannon Sharp, who was a tight end for the Broncos. Before that Super Bowl, those two were throwing jabs at one another through the media like I had never seen before, and I can't remember anything since. Ray Buchanan called him horse face.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And then Shannon Sharp, I mean, the horse face was funny. But it just got deeply personal between those two.
They was the time that the Falcons was the Dirty Birds.
The Dirty Birds, yeah.
And they had Jamal Anderson?
Yeah.
And they had nobody on. I don't understand how they got to a Super Bowl. I mean, Chandler was the quarterback.
Denver won it.
They smoked them, and it was bad.
And Sharp had the better day for sure, and so he got the last word. But man, that was crazy.
And we
talk.
never heard from Buchanan after that. Because wasn't he like a safety or a corner?
Yeah, I think he was a safety.
Yeah.
I worked with Ray at ESPN and had some incredible stories off the air about Ray.
Did he end up playing for the Colts also?
I think he did play for the Colts. Went to Louisville, I want to say. Go ahead.
G, I got a question for you. You are the consummate Browns believer, a buyer into the hype of everything Browns. Jay, you've said many times before the dog pound isn't what it used to be.
Right.
G, I know you've
There's
said
no
before
debate there.
Yeah, that's out of
you still think the home field advantage in Cleveland is prominent. Roquan Smith had one more comment I did want to touch on, and this one didn't get the notoriety as the I'm going to beat them in front of their wives and kids, but G, I'm curious how you felt his comments on the dog pound. Steve, you can play it.
You go in there as the enemy to go take over, and that's our plan, to actually go take over. I think they call it the dog pound. I consider myself a dog, so I'm right at home in that place. So I'm excited to get back in there, and I know they're a physical football team, but so are we.
Gee, problem with him saying he's going to feel right at home in the dog pound?
Well, listen here. I got a split feeling on the dog pound. When you look at it, and these dudes, Jay can tell you. Even I was born in '81, so me being 6, 7 years old, and when they in their heyday, I really couldn't soak it up and really take it in. But the dog pound back in the day was different. It's nowhere near what it is today, and it's almost disrespectful to still call it that.
I think it is disrespectful.
Well, what's
and I
really
think they
bad
should find a new name.
And I feel like J.W. Johnson, that nitwit, started this whole thing. They now refer to the whole stadium as the dog pound.
That ain't it. That's
it's
not
like
it.
you don't get it.
That's not it. Like these, and it was, and I reached out to some people or whatever, because after I did a blog and it did a lot of views, and a lot of those people from that era reached out to me and was just like, listen, when they were sitting in them sections, some of them people was going to work after that, like.
No joke.
No lie. Literally
going to work an overnight shift starting on a Sunday night.
Right.
Yeah.
Just facts. Like cats was working midnights. And he's like, back then it was just different. Them seats was for the people that was on the ground level.
Were wooden
bleachers.
Yeah. There was no comfort zone.
No, it wasn't. He said guys was really having, like, that was, he said life was tough for those people that sat in those seats. Like, them people was paycheck to paycheck. Them people was scrounging and scrapping all week just to put something on the table because they knew they needed to get that money to go to the Browns game.
You're right.
And so that's where you see that angst and energy level from, because they was the people in society that was really, they the common people. They was down. So that was their only time to say, we up now. The Browns don't got the best stadium. The Browns don't have the best uniforms. Heck, but you know what? We work hard, and when you come here, we're gonna make it hard for you too. And that's what resonated with me so much. I watched so many Browns games during the summer just being on YouTube, and I'm like, man, it was different. Now it's corporate. Now you kids there, they show puppies they show puppies between plays at halftime. Like, that ain't what it is about. Like, I don't think I think winning plays a part in it too. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't get back there, but I really would love to see Cleveland have a great home field advantage, because guess what? Playoff games over a Progressive, magical.
Absolutely
magical. Playoff games over at the Rocket Mortgage, them games is loud. It's one of the loudest places out in the NBA, and I just want to see the NBA or the NFL and the Browns get to that.
A home playoff game.
It's been a long time.
But I was old enough at the time, because I was born in '65. So when they were killing it in the mid to late 80s, I was 12, 13, 14 years old. And I sat in the dog pound 4 games. And it was different. I remember the first time I sat in the dog pound for a game, I felt like I was in a different city. Because, normally we were up in the regular seats.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There was one game where the only seat we could get was the dog pound. We went, and I just was like, this is a completely different experience. And it was organic. Imagine if in St. Louis, they still had a Big Mac Playland in left field.
Right.
Like, that happened organically because Mark McGwire was hitting home runs up there, and it became Big Mac
That's
Land.
what makes it special.
But he's not there anymore, and neither is Big Mac Playland.
No. Yeah, right.
And the dogs that were Minifield and Dixon and that defensive secondary, the ones that labeled themselves dogs, that was organic and real, but we've tried carrying it over generation after generation, and at that point, it's forced, it's tired, it's old, and it's time to move on, in my view.
You gotta bring something else. You gotta get something else.
Yeah.